Hello, and welcome back to Scuttlebutt VR. It has been a while since we sat down and did a formal episode. It's been so long, in fact, that the studio is completely different. More on that later. How are you doing today, Hermes?
Oh, another day, another dollar. Here we are, making it happen.
I mean, you're not wrong. Speaking of dollars, we've got a lot of dollars to talk about today. Money is factoring in a lot to the main topic of discussion for today's podcast episode, I think. And that is, it has been so long since we did an episode that the PSVR 2 is actually released.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit.
Of value for it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good headset for what it is. I would say it's a very solid promise for the VR enthusiast. I don't know how many new people it's going to get into VR, I think, is kind of my main concern.
Fair. What's the price on it?
I knew that you were going to ask that. I have that in my notes right here. That's literally the first thing that I have down. The PSVR 2 costs $550. Now, bear in mind that is without a PlayStation 5, which you need to use the PlayStation VR 2.
Oh,
that is just for the headset and controllers.
Well, then.
Yeah, I knew that was going to change your tune a little bit. The PS5, for the absolute cheapest, just the digital, no disc, if you can find it, $400. So that brings our total closer to like 1,000.
Yeah, like already we're sitting at easy 1,000 after tax and everything.
Oh, for sure. And then you got to buy a game too,
Yeah.
You don't seem impressed.
Okay. Well, I mean, is there something that I should be impressed at? Like, is there something that's gonna? Because what you're saying is it's good for a VR enthusiast, but as an enthusiast, it's not quite exciting me. So it's like, what is it offering right now that's going to be exciting? Obviously, it's not the price point. It's not beating the Quest right now. It's not.
And that's, I think, to be fair,
innovative technology.
A thing we've talked about a lot is that Meta has really kind of spoiled the market with the Quest 2 and its price point. I think it would be fair to say that you are enthusiastic about VR, but because we only have Quests, we're not really in the category of VR enthusiast. We're more of hobbyists, because an enthusiast would buy, for example, Valve's Index headset, which not only costs $1,000, but then you have to get a gaming PC to plug it into. So, in the grand scheme of virtual reality, I would say that the PSVR 2 is solidly in the middle, where the Quest 2 kind of invented this entirely new lower area, which is why it's so successful.
And people and other manufacturers need to match it. They need to catch up with it. I mean, I don't know. It's like you said, if Meta spoiled us, I mean, just because they spoiled us doesn't mean they did something wrong. Like, if anything, they're proving the point that it can be done for a cheaper price.
10,000 plus people that they're laying off, I feel like, would argue they might have done something a little bit wrong. John Carmack, a guy who's been in video games since Quake, he's invested. He got involved in Meta and then stayed in Oculus. Pardon me. He got involved in the original Oculus and then stayed with it when it turned into Facebook and eventually Meta. And even now he's jumping ship because he's like, you guys are fucking up and doing everything wrong. So, as much as we appreciate the cost cutting measures, they're like, I'm going to call it right now that the Quest 3 is going to be more expensive than the Quest 2 was.
Yeah, naturally. I think we already, had after Quest Pro, we kind of had that assumption that they're going to continue going up, fixing some of that mistake. But I mean, who's ultimately the demographic that they're catering to? All of these VR headsets, who are they catering to? They're catering to those that will use it. And as people who use it ourselves, that's something that obviously I wouldn't even have a VR set. I would have no experience in VR had it not been this cheap. So
sure, and that's
did they accomplish
that is where I think PlayStation has a huge advantage, is if you look at the amount of people that have already purchased PS5s. Even, I mean, the crazy scalping just goes to show you how many people want them. So for us, it's a terrible value proposition because we don't have a PS5 and it's hard to get one. But if you had a PS5 already and you were curious about VR, this is a cheaper way to get into very high-end VR that would be comparable and in some cases proven to be better than high-end PC VR. So, like I said, it's a very solid middle ground that they're occupying. And for the price that they're asking, they do have features that the Quest 2 doesn't have. Features that the Quest Pro does have for $1,500. Like eye tracking.
Okay.
They also have...
Okay, now I'm more sold now. I'm a little more sold now.
It's all about paradigm, right?
Yeah, and you can do a lot more with the PlayStation 5. So I do see that point being a big selling point. You know, even the wife was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting a PS5. I don't know that I'm gonna spend the $500-$600 for a PS5, but
then you're halfway there already."
Exactly, and if that's something that is like two birds with one stone, you know, if if you somehow end up with a PS5 for one reason, and then like you said, there's another reason, like a caveat reason that's just an additional attachment as the VR. Like if it's high end VR, right up there with the Pro. Okay, now I'm coming back towards it a little bit, and you know me, I'm a PlayStation guy. I'll trust the technology as far as Sony's concerned.
Give them the benefit of the doubt. One really cool thing we did talk about in the rumors video that came true is they have a cinematic mode. So in addition to all of the VR games they're offering, you can play basically any PS5 game in like a flat screen VR mode. So it's nice. You can have essentially as big of a TV as you want if you have a PSVR 2.
I know that's a big thing for you. You like movies and everything in VR, so that's going to be a positive for you.
Oh, totally. Well, and it'd be sick to be like, hey, instead of I'm going to play PS5 in the living room and nobody else can use the TV, you know, it's like you guys can watch whatever housewives of wherever the fuck they're from. And, you know, I can play my PlayStation over here and I can get online with the boys and play Call of Duty still. I don't have to be in a VR game. I'm just in my own little kind of bubble, which is nice. I do appreciate that. Ready for me to bring you on the next negative? I've got a whole roller coaster of points set up here. It's wired.
Give it to me.
Plugs into the PS5 and it has a cable.
Ooh, okay.
Which is the standard for PC VR.
Okay, yeah, that's fair, but I wonder if an attachment could come with, you know, you can plug the Quest in if it needs to be charged or whatnot. So I wonder if that can just be a capability that they work into the VR headset as demand pushes it in that direction of maybe an attachment of wireless or like a Bluetooth adaptation or something for the PlayStation 2. You know, their controllers are all wireless. Why can't their headset be wireless?
Because the controllers have batteries in them. Unlike a Quest 2, the headset doesn't have a built-in battery because it gets all of its power from the cable being plugged into the console. So in addition to figuring out some sort of a wireless latency, you would have to also figure out how to power the headset. It's a thing that they haven't done for the original PSVR ever, and they made the conscious decision to stick with a cable for the PSVR 2. So I'm going to go with like 99.98% unlikely we ever see a wireless adapter. We might see a wireless version. It might come out and they're like, hey, this one doesn't have wires, but it's way more expensive. And then that would be a hard sell because it's more expensive, but it has a lower graphical fidelity than something with a wire. Because, you know, we podcast, we understand that wired is the way when you want the best quality.
Yes, true. Maybe this opens up the market for third-party attachment. And similar to the Quest, how it has, you know, different head straps that can be offered, battery packs that can be offered. Maybe this is just opening another secondary market, potentially, that could work with a Sony. I mean, if it's all USB 3 or USB-C or whatever, I mean,
it does. There is a third-party market, but if you've ever worked with Sony, you understand that they like doing things their way. They love proprietary stuff. I'm honestly surprised that they...
but
Well, okay, yeah,
jailbreak was a thing. A
and they
jailbreak occurred in the first,
and that was not working with Apple. Nobody jailbroke with Apple.
but I'm saying people are smart. They can figure this out. Take our idea, guys, and run with it. You might have a extra selling point for me if that's the case. If I know for maybe another couple $100, I can jailbreak it and get it up to the pro level and everything I want is attachment, and it's still less than $1,500.
That's been the big question so far. Is jailbreaking in general to get it to work on like a PC. Because, I mean, technically, like, the Index doesn't have a battery either. It's also wired. Like, there's nothing hardware-wise that would stop you from plugging it into a PC and using it with Steam VR. It doesn't work right now. People have tried. It definitely doesn't work that way. And the first one didn't either. Somebody had to hack it and do a similar kind of jailbreak thing. That guy has said that it's going to be way harder to do it with the PSVR 2. The dude who's done it already is already expressing doubts, which doesn't make me super excited. But like, overall, I think it's a really cool thing, and I think it's going to be a segue for a lot of people who maybe were on the fence about VR, or maybe they were on the fence about a PS5. Maybe they're like super into VR, but they didn't know if they wanted a PS5. Like, maybe for you now, Hermes, you're going to turn around and talk to the wife and be like, you know what? Do get that PS5, because I'm going to wait for the PSVR 2 to go on sale next Christmas and pick that thing up too. Give myself some options. They do have Demio on it, of course. So,
yes, I did see that one. You'd sent a couple videos on that, and that is actually another selling point that I'm extremely excited about. That's what I was playing before you and I hopped into VR chat. We're just, of course, play it by myself.
Naturally,
it's that good. So, yeah, that's definitely something. And if I get the wife into it and she has a controller that can sort of set, well,
and you guys could crossplay too. So, you could exactly. She could play on the flat screen on PS5, and then you could introduce that headset. Well, you're over there in the corner with your Quest, and now you guys are you're in the same room, but you're in a completely different room.
Yeah, and and that's the exciting part about all of this AR and VR reality that we're entering into, is the possibilities that we're opening up, if it's for a good price and if it's actually up to the level that I think we're all wanting from it. Similar to previous incarnations of video games, go all the way back to like N64. The thing that changed the game, I guess, between arcade and home consoles was that interactive experience of like competition, Mortal Kombat, GoldenEye, etc. Now we have something that's more immersive. How are they going to take the technology to that same level of like, oh, this is something new, aka like a home virtual reality or augmented reality, but then also carry over all the things that we already know and love, similar to like the competition for the arcade into the home console, So I think with all of these games that we are currently falling in love with, as far as Quest is concerned, is going to be a big hurdle or opportunity depending on who takes it, that'll get me to buy into it anyways. Same thing with like business side of it for you, because I know you use it a lot for exercise and business, and we like the meetings.
Oh yeah, I live in this thing.
Getting all of that getting that streamlined and seamless is going to be the big hurdle but opportunity. I think that whoever does it first, we kept saying Meta, we're glad somebody's taking the first steps, but I wonder if it's gonna stay with Meta as like Sony gets involved, even Microsoft maybe in the future if they could figure out their glasses, etc.
Oh, damn it, Hermes, that was a beautiful transition to the kind of like the thing I want to wrap up about PSVR 2. What I personally am most excited about is that it signals that Sony, the game company, is not giving up on virtual reality, that they're doubling down and they're investing in it. And right now, it was funny, I actually saw Meta was bragging that of the, I think it's 49 games that are releasing on PSVR 2 as it comes out this week, 47 of them either are available on Quest 2 or will be soon, including like Iron Man VR, which Sony helped develop. And so I love that they're kind of crossing over. And so competition is good for everyone. And that's what I want to end on, is that, what I want more than anything is awesome VR experiences. And so if Sony's going to provide that, if Meta's going to provide it, if it's Microsoft, if they're all pushing each other to go even higher, then we win as consumers. And so I think as a VR enthusiast, that's the best thing we could hope for.
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's same with any other market or media out there, right? It's like it sucks when it's a monopoly and shit just goes, plateaus, into nothing. It's way better when there's so many competing ideas, whether it's Pepsi versus Coke or PlayStation versus Xbox, then you also have these fun, like you're always Android, I'm always Apple. There's this fun competition between the two, and then totally different paths that are both successful, so that people still have options. I love that aspect of it.
Exactly. Well, we support options here at Scuttlebutt VR, which is why for our last piece of news, we have a sad note. My personal favorite esports game on VR, Echo Arena VR, is closing. They're shutting down the servers for it on August 1st, 2023, which is it's more than just sad, it's devastating, honestly, because it is the #1 most popular esports game on virtual reality. And so the studio is owned by Meta. If they don't have the money to devote to their #1 most popular game that people watch on Twitch, if this is what people are actively competing in to push that area, I'll go as far as to say that Echo VR, which for anyone who doesn't know, the best way that I can summarize it is basically ultimate frisbee in zero gravity. It's my new favorite sport, just in general, inside or outside of virtual reality. I fucking love playing it. The only reason I haven't showed it to you, Hermes, is because you would get nauseous immediately. Like, there's no way you could handle it.
Telling me. Just you saying what it was about, I was like, ooh, that sounds like nausea.
But it's a fucking awesome game, and the fact that they are killing it is devastating, because I understand they don't have money to support the multiplayer servers, but it has bots. You could keep it single player with bots. You could keep it moving forward. And the fact that they had season passes that people invested money in, it was free to play game, I will note that, but people have still put money into it. That's just gone now. There's no that it was great for what it was. But for this thing that went for however many, a dozen seasons of play, multiple years, to just, close all of a sudden, it sucks a lot. And it's a bad sign, because they're not the only ones. There was another game, I think it's Nerf Ultimate Championship. I don't know, I'll put the name up. They're also shutting down their multiplayer servers, and they were up for 6 months or something. And that game cost money to buy. People bought that. And then they're like, not enough people bought it, so we're shutting it down. And that is just, that is not okay. We as gamers need to rise up and say no.
That's the thing. That's the thing, too, is there's got to be either enough pushback to change some of these. If you buy it and then it closes down, do you get a half off credit or, something?
Well, and that's the thing.
Credit towards the next game. Something to, give and take here, other than, oh, you took our money and we got a 6 months worth of a game. That's I hope there have been some conspiracies going around that maybe the studio is shutting it down because they're doing a #2 and they need to devote all their resources to the next one, which fingers crossed, man. I really hope that that's the case, but I think their community that has supported them for this entire time deserves that as an announcement, if nothing else. Instead of just being kind of left out to dry and being told, well, you can play till August, so have fun, kids. Yeah, I agree. But these are also some of the learning curves, speed bumps that we got to figure out, because it's such a new space, and so this is probably going to be one of those things, that we've obviously shown, or, clearly been shown to be one of these unexpected. I wouldn't have expected that to be a thing that happened for gaming in any sense of the word. So now that okay, now there's got to be an adequate response,
Back in my day, when you bought a game, it was yours and you owned it.
Just like music, same thing. But now, you stream everything, and even though you have it, you've downloaded it, it's only good for a certain amount of time. So if you go out of service for 2 months, you don't have all your music anymore, versus, you used to have the CDs, or you download the MP3 files, etc. There's always a trade-off, on how convenient you want something, and how, I don't know,
right, what the cost of that convenience is.
Longevity. Exactly. Yeah. So something to consider in the future, ladies and gentlemen.
I guess that kind of wraps our show up in a nice little kind of sad bow, but overall good news with the PSVR 2. I just want to ask the audience, have you bought a PSVR 2 yet? If you haven't, are you going to? Definitely leave your thoughts down below. We do read every single comment, so thanks for watching.